What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, Milwaukee? You know what time it is. It is time for the #1 faith-based Christian talk show in the entire world. Welcome to Into His Courts. I'm your man, P. Skip. We are squatted up today, y'all. T-Mac is back in the house.
Hola.
Chili Will.
Gracias, gracias, amigos.
Listen, I'm going to read this scripture, then we're going to get into some things. This is Jesus and his 12 apostles. It says this. Afterwards, Jesus went into a mountain and called out the ones he wanted to go with him. And they came to him. Then he appointed 12 of them and called them his apostles. And they were to accompany him, and he would send them out to preach, giving them authority to cast out demons. And these 12 are he or they that he chose. There was Simon, who was named Peter, James and John, the sons of Zebedee, but nicknamed them the sons of thunder, Andrew, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Thomas, James, son of Alphaeus, Thaddeus, Simon the Zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who later would betray him. One of the things that I want to talk about is, first of all, if you look throughout the Bible, God used families to do some amazing things in the Bible. I mean, you can go all the way back into the New Testament where God used Moses, Aaron, and Miriam to deliver the Jews out of Egypt. But here you have a situation where, looking with the Bucks, you got a set of twins on the team now with the Lopez brothers, Robin and Brooke, which is amazing to me. How do you have brothers that don't even have close names? But that's another story on another day.
To each his own.
Right. They're your children, name them what you want. And then you have the Antetokounmpo brothers, who is Giannis and, what's his brother? I can't think of the brother. Kostas. No, is Kostas on the team or starts with a T?
It was
Right, it starts with a T.
Thaddeus.
Or something like, huh?
Yeah. T. Antetokounmpo. Let's call
Right,
him
we'll call
that.
it-
Hey, T, what's happening?
Because Kostas is with L.A.
The Lakers.
Right.
He's with
That's
L.A.
right. Good call.
And so I've played sports with my brothers. And because of the way we play basketball, we knew the roles that we knew how to play, and we did well together. My thing is, do you think that these guys can do well together and play well together? Because you got a different dynamic. Because not only do you have two brothers, but you got two sets of brothers.
Yes.
That could possibly bring family rivalries. You know, there's a whole bunch of could go wrong in this. I'm thinking that it's going to be good to, one, I believe they brought Giannis's brother because trying to put some more ways to get him to stay.
Could be.
That's one of the things I'm
Could
thinking.
be.
But I think they brought in Robin Lopez because we didn't have a low post presence at all. Because Brooke likes shooting J's, and Robin likes to bang. So I'm thinking now we had to get a shot blocker, and we had to look at what Philly was doing and how do we counteract that. How do we counteract Philly? Because I'm thinking, okay, now Robin will go with the big man. Embiid. And I think Brooke can now go with Al Horford, which now they're kind of canceling each other out. But you still got Giannis. Imagine what this team could look like if you put out on the floor the Brooke brothers at 5 and 4. Moving Giannis to a 3. Moving Giannis to a 3. Moving, now putting
Middleton at shooting guard?
as 2, and whichever one you want out there.
Okay, either Bledsoe or George Hill.
Or I don't know how good of a dribbler Matthews is. He could even come at 1.
No, he got to be the off-the-bench gunner that we've been looking for over a year now.
Yeah, he's a replacement on the bench mob.
So he's part of
That second unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But think about it, that's one of the biggest that'd be one of the biggest teams you're putting out there on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, size-wise, they'd be very, very impressive. You got the Twin Towers and their brothers and all the backstory behind that and the marketing and all of that. I think the concern that I have with that, for first, with them being brothers, I think like you mentioned earlier, it depends on what their relationship is like. If they were at each other's throats as little kids and grown up and hate each other, that can be cancerous for the team, right, in the locker room. But if they've been really pretty congenial, played together, I mean, twins, like typical twins that I know are, really close and, feel each other. You can be in one part of the country, another one can feel your feelings from another part. So if they're thick like that, then it'll be an asset for the squad. I think that addition, though, the concern I have is Giannis moving to 3. That will probably require him, because we got the middle a little bit more clogged now, to shoot the outside shot. And one of the things that was unfortunately exposed in that Toronto series where there were some flaws in his game that yet to be improved. Now, you're the MVP, averaging 27 points a game, 12 rebounds. It's not a lot to, nitpick. This is like picking a piece of lint off a tuxedo.
Right.
But at the same time, I think it prevented them, a contributing factor from them going to the finals.
Right.
And so now with him being on the 3, it will require him to have that 18-foot jumper, an occasional 3, to be improved upon. And if not, would that add even more exposure to some things that we saw, flaws in the armor, even in the late playoff run that they had. So on paper, it looks good. They still have to go out and play the game and execute to see if it really is as good as it looks on paper.
Yeah.
Well, and the other part is this is a profession. This is a business. Mm-hmm. So there's people who are charged with looking at these type of things before these type of moves are made.
Gotcha.
They didn't just randomly say, hey, we can get some brothers. They looked at their needs. They looked at their financial packages. They looked at the length of contracts. They looked at the talent and skill level, and they came to the conclusion that these moves were assets to what they were trying to do in their final goal. We're looking at it on the fly. Yes, it does have some type of novelty to it because it's brothers on teams and all that. I don't know if it's I can't recall 2 sets of brothers being on any team.
I think it's a record.
Yeah, any team.
They created history, and I think that's part of why they did it.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of novelty to it. But the bottom line is your brother going to have to be able to contribute. He's going to have to be able to play. An NBA team is not a social program.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Uh-huh. And
this is not the why.
This is not pickup ball. So the people who are in charge, the John Hoist of the world, I'm quite sure have gone in depth and looked at this and figured that these were good moves for the organization as a whole. So I'm really not that concerned about it as far as it being cancerous. I think it's going to be fine. And I also think it gives Giannis a chance and Brooke Lopez a chance to be blessed to spend some more quality time with their siblings. Yeah. And we all have siblings. We know what kind of blessing that is.
Right.
You know, so that part of it I think is going to be fine.
I also look at this from like we talked about, what do they bring? And not only do they bring, skills, because we really don't know what Giannis's brother brings yet. Unless you guys know, I really don't know. It's yet to see, but then again, we didn't know what Giannis was bringing until we saw. But he's smaller than Giannis, and I think he may be a 2 guard, possibly.
Yeah, he's like 6'7". He spent some time in the Knicks organization for a season or 2 over the past 2 or 3 years as well.
Right.
And so he was drafted by a professional franchise other than the Bucks. So the nepotism that people want to blame this on may have a little bit to do with it, but it's not totally, because he was already drafted by a professional basketball team prior to joining the Bucks.
Right.
Exactly.
And so I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, the biggest thing is what is it going to do with chemistry in that locker room? Mm-hmm. Because you can have great skills, you can be an amazing player, but it does not mean the chemistry will allow you to play good. Mm-hmm. And so I noticed going to games last year, especially in the playoffs, you would look in the stands, and you would see Robin in the stands.
Yeah, he was at a lot of games.
He was at a lot of games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so I think he was scouting out the team during the playoffs to see how can I fit, what can I bring, what do they need that I can do, how can I help this team? Because anybody, especially a big man, who thinks, I can hit threes, looks at the Bucks and goes, man, I want all over that team. You have no idea how much I want to be on that
Yeah.
team.
Sign me up.
Right.
Sign me up.
And I ain't got to have a whole bunch of money to play with him because I know how much fun I'm going to have because I get to shoot a three versus other teams. I have to stay down low.
And bang.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's probably looking at the way the Bucks are going and how they're doing their team is the trend for where the NBA is going. And he probably said, I want to get in front of this curve, so even if after this contract, if I still want to play, they can say, but he knows this system.
Yeah. Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but he did play for the Bulls, right? Did he play for the Bulls?
Right.
So he was just in Chicago not doing nothing anyway.
Shots fired.
Yeah, he was just in Chicago, walking down the Magnificent Mile, going over to Navy Pier.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? Let me just catch this train down to Milwaukee and hang out with my brother a little while.
Right.
So he was conveniently located.
Right. Right. He was in the area.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Or as folks stop by your house, hey, I was in the neighborhood. What do you mean he was in the neighborhood, bro?
Yeah, yeah.
So, go ahead.
With him kind of, sitting in, coming down, right down the road, or up the road, I should say, coming in town, I think that's, is a good sign. Shows that there is some brotherly love there. Hopefully it can, remain that way and not fall into, I guess, one of the more famous contentious brother pieces. Going back to the Bible, we have, Jacob and Esau.
Right.
Where they had that sibling rivalry where one, stole the birthright of the other one, and they
Right.
had, beef from then even up to now. We have some vestiges of that. So I think there are examples both in antiquity and in modern day times that show that, hey, this thing can be, bumping, or it can be challenging. It seems
Right.
that this one is, on the more positive side and could be a nice asset, for the squad. And I hope that plays out as we go into the season. Another piece that both the Lopez brothers have kind of had a history of injury, though, too. I mean, last year, relatively, safe. We were, phenomenal in that regard on our way to our 60 wins. But that is another thing we'll have to kind of keep our eyes out for. Can they, maintain health so that their contributions to the squad be consistent throughout the season?
Yeah, I think one of the things with the Lopez brothers that you have is they've played together before because they played in college together. So they kind of know how to play with one another and how to feed off of each other. I'm just waiting to see what this is going to look like because, we've seen siblings do things together like that has been very successful. For instance, the Williams sisters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very successful.
Very successful in their doubles.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, amazing. But then you've also seen other situations that didn't work out as well.
Yeah.
Like I've seen siblings that were in the league at the same time together. Like you can go as far back as Dominique and his brother, Gerald.
Right.
The Wilkes.
The
Dominique
King
Wilkes.
brothers.
Yep, that's right.
Albert and Bernard.
Albert and
Right.
Bernard. Yeah.
So you can go far. You can go and see how brothers played in the. And then didn't
The Berry brothers.
wasn't it three of them at one time playing?
The Berries? Yeah, it was three. Three Berries played in the
Yeah.
NBA.
Trent, Drew, and
John.
And John.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But with that being said, they weren't on the same team.
No.
And so how does that work for you being on the same team? And out
Were
of
the
the
Grant brothers on the same team?
not that I know of.
Horace Grant and Harvey Grant, were they both on the Bulls?
I don't
They
ever
never
remember
were
they're
both
on the same team.
I think one
Okay.
was the then Bullets before
Yeah.
they
Right,
became
and
the
one was-
Wizards.
Yeah.
right.
And the Bulls.
Okay.
Then the Magic.
And my thing is this, looking at the Brooks brothers, again, I'm not trying to say that this ain't going to work. You got to look at the different temperaments because Robin has a hot head.
How do you know that?
How many games was he tossed off?
In no uncertain terms.
Right. For fighting and whatnot. So you have something different with him but maybe we may need somebody who could be an enforcer like that because we don't really have one on the squad.
No, it would be good to have him. And for certain, if you mess with one of these brothers, the brother is coming.
All right.
That's
You
innate.
thought you
Yeah.
was getting one hand, you're getting four, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right hand of fellowship.
Right, and so I'm really looking forward to seeing what this is going to pan out to be. I want to see Coach Bud has some work for him to figure it out how he's going to play these guys, what their minutes are going to look like, what scenarios he's going to play them in, because and can they play on the floor at the same time? If they play the same position, do they get in each other's way? Or does that allow Brooke to just stay out and shoot threes all day?
No, I think you bring up a very good point when you talk about the aggressiveness that Robin has, and then watching our squad. I mean, the talent is there, won 60 games. Just put an asterisk by, this upcoming season. They're going to come into the season. They caught folks by surprise, I think, last year, and they did it super, super well, as evident by all the hardware that they won postseason.
Correct.
MVP, Coach of the Year, Executive of the Year.
Right.
I mean, they just got all the awards.
NBA Player of the Year at the ESPYs.
And exactly. So
don't forget that one, and runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
So with all of that success, led the league in wins in the regular season, the question becomes, well, where do you go from there? Have we graduated to the level of, hey, it's championship series or going to the finals berth or bust for a year? And if so, we're going to have to get a little bit scrappy. I think one of the things that Toronto demonstrated last year in going to the championship, they had a little bit more grit than what I thought. Even having guys like Fred VanVleet coming off the bench. I mean, everybody contributing in the moment that they needed the contribution, you know? And so for us, going into the season as, hey, one, fear the deer, but this is Wisconsin, people hunt deer.
Right, right.
So
venison is delicious.
Right. So do we have the same disposition as a squad that's hunted as opposed to a squad that's catching people by surprise?
Well, let me comment on that.
Okay.
Because what has historically happened in the NBA is that you had to go through a sort of rites of passage.
Yeah.
And that's been historic in the NBA. Golden State just didn't come out of anywhere. Right. They were bottom feeders for a long time, and they went through the draft, and they put together, and all of a sudden, they got to where they needed to get to. Mm-hmm. The same thing happened traditionally back with Boston and Detroit and the Bulls and so on and so forth. People had to go through some things.
Exactly.
Well, I think Toronto may be the latest version of that. Before in the West, Oklahoma City made it to the finals, but San Antonio Spurs were perennial in the West. So they had to go through some things. Toronto got put out the last 2, maybe 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they got to the point where they had the grit, they had the stripes, they had the experience, which allowed them to take that second step. I think the Bucks are at that point where, okay, we want to win one series last year, and we won that. Matter of fact, we went all the way to the finals and almost won the whole Eastern Conference. I mean, the whole side. So right now, that experience, getting their butt whooped and put out the year before, all of that, to me, is part of their rites of passage program. And this year, there are expectations, and it is NBA Finals or bust for the Bucks.
Okay.
And I think all of the numbers, the people out of Vegas is saying the Bucks should win the most game. They're favored as the number 1 team in the East.
No, they're not, actually.
Who?
They're saying Philly is the number 1 team with the addition of Horford. They're putting the Bucks either 2 or 3. They're saying Philly.
See, everything I've seen has been Bucks 1 and Philly 2.
Reports.
Right.
I've seen both reports.
Yeah.
With them as number 1 coming out of the East, as well as Philly. So,
Yeah.
depending upon which report you read. But
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody put them other than first.
And one put Boston above the Bucks too, because they said just with that switching of Kyrie and Kemba made them the chemistry that much better.
But they got rid of Al Horford, who was the heart of the team, and they got rid of that other guard they had. What was his name? The guard Rozier. Which those 2 players were very big parts of their success.
Yeah. But they were saying,
and not to mention Kyrie.
They were saying that Kemba is a Kyrie, but with better team chemistry. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, and that may be true, but who's going to be Horford and who's going to be Rozier?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's going to take their place? So they're still down 2 men.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the hope for Boston is that they have addition by subtraction.
I agree.
And bringing Kemba Walker in, who is a gritty, very, very skilled player. I'd say he's a poor man's, Kyrie. He's tough. He gave Kyrie.
Well, he ain't a
36.
poor man's because they didn't get him for cheap.
Excuse my verbal faux
It's going to
pas.
be nice to see Kemba on this stage.
Yeah.
Right.
It's going to be
It
nice
will
to
be.
see him on this stage.
It will be. And him coming from UConn, Eastern Seaboard, won the championship there, led the team through, what was arguably the toughest conference in college. College and pro, aren't the same thing. But at that level, he won a championship, given the stage and the platform.
Right.
And I think that Boston, with the other young players and young pieces that they still have left, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they are really ready to emerge as, hey, man, we're not as crowded and cramped as we were before. We can kind of spread our wings a little bit and show the world what we really have to offer. And if Gordon Hayward is anywhere near the all-star status that he had back in Utah and he's fully recovered from his ankle injury, they might have enough juice to make a pretty deep run on the team chemistry tip, a la what the New England Patriots are able to accomplish in football.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, do you think, just talking about Boston, because that's what we're on right now, do you think that Boston is looking at Hayward and saying, this is your last year, if this don't work, you're gone? I don't even think, to a certain extent, I don't even think they're going to give him a full season.
I don't think so. I think that just based on the scuttlebutt that I've heard over the past year or two, he's kind of, almost teacher's pet. I mean, the coach, he was his college coach, his raised like a son, to him. And I think he's given him a lot of rope. And in looking at that injury, I was watching the game when it happened. It was gruesome. The Joe Theismann, Lawrence Taylor type deal, stuff you can't really hardly watch. So I think there is a bucket load of grace that's being extended to him that, hey, man, however long it takes. Matter of fact, they might even feel guilty given what happened to Kevin Durant in Golden State. We might have rushed you back a little bit even last year because you weren't fully healed. So we'll go ahead and honor as long as you can play. If you can just show us anything. Now, if he's showing them straight trash, then, hey, bro, this is a business. God bless you and keep you. Get on somewhere and scram. But if he shows any semblance of, hey, man, I'm back. I can contribute to the team. I can be the good fundamental player complementing, all the flash that we have here. I can be a major piece to this puzzle as well. I think they'll keep him.
Well, I'll say this. Couple things. Number one, Boston Celtics organization has traditionally had a European-American star on their team. And that person would be Gordon. Mm-hmm. It's nothing wrong with that. Right. They're known to have a European-American star on their team.
That's true.
And he's that guy. And I'm very confident that Gordon Hayward is going to come back the same way Paul George came back from his injury. Because they have better technology, better treatment, better therapy. And last year we saw glimpses of the old Gordon during the year. So I think he's going to be fine. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think Gordon Hayward will be an NBA All-Star this year.
Okay.
Do you think, because Kemba just came off of being one, do you think he's going to be another one this year?
Yes.
So that means Boston's going to have two of them this year.
They're going to have two. They're going to have two. And the reason why, because the East doesn't have the type of star power that the West has.
Right.
You got people in the West, if they were in the East, they would be All-Stars right now.
Right.
C.J. McCullough would be an All-Star if he was in the East.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the guard strength in the East is not the same as in the West. Although, and you look at who came to the East as a guard from last year. Who? Nobody.
Everybody stayed in the East. Our strong guards stayed.
All of the guards are still in the West. So Gordon Hayward and Kemba Walker being All-Star. What's his name left from Brooklyn? Who's D'Angelo Russell. So that's a spot that just opened up right there.
Exactly.
So I think they'll have two representatives, and I think Gordon and Kemba will be on the All-Star team this year.
I'm not going to doubt it. You gave a great argument. I want to just throw this out here. We'll close with this, but I want to go out on a limb and say, once again, I said it last year and I'll say it again. The champion this year from the NBA is coming out the East again. I'm going to say, because the West didn't get any weaker. They got stronger. And with that being said, just like I said last year, they're going to beat each other up. They're going to beat each other up, and whoever comes out of the East has got an easier pathway to get to the championship. I believe that's why, again, Golden State lost, because their legs were tired. The injuries were tired legs. So I'm thinking, I'm saying it. You can write it down, put it in your Rolodex, call me back later. I'm thinking the champion again is coming out the East.
That's Pastor Prophet.
Well, I'm telling you, Pastor, that I hate to be
He disagreed.
in disagreement with you, sir.
Blasphemy.
I can't. Can I say the devil's advocate?
Not in my house.
Strike that from the record.
Right. Thou shalt be rebuked.
Okay, but I want to say that I would not bet against the king. He has been rested. He has taken time off. He is fully healed. He got help. He got the brow to go with him.
Let me just
he
say,
got
that's
Boogie.
LeBron James, not the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
oh, oh,
but
oh, I'm
LeBron,
sorry.
that
LeBron
other
James.
king. Small K.
LBJ.
Small K King. Go ahead, sir.
The small K King. All right. He got some help. He can take some time off. He got all kinds of things going for him. I'm saying that the Lakers are coming out of the West, and they're going to be a tough out for anybody. Anybody.
And I'm not saying that they're not coming out of the West.
They're coming out the West.
But what I'm saying is there is going to be a lot of beating each other up coming out
That
that
is true.
West.
That
There's
is
going to be a
true.
lot. And the thing about it is, it's a lot of beating each other up regular season and more beating each other up playoffs.
You're absolutely
And
correct.
so that's what I'm looking at. I'm going, okay, all that wear and tear, because now, LeBron, where you could sit out some games, you can't.
No.
There's,
Because the
stars can't
Portlands
sit
and the
out.
Denvers of the
Right.
world, and
Right.
Dallas is a dark
Wait,
horse.
just the Clippers.
Yeah.
The cats are sharing your gym.
Yeah.
So you don't have an opportunity to say, I'm going to sit out a game, a few games. You can sit out a game or two, and you can miss the playoffs.
You could mess around and be a 6
Time
seed.
management.
Right. And so I really think, with all that being said, because I know how strong the West is, that's why I'm saying the way they are stacked up in the West, that this could be ugly for the East.
I'll just throw in this 20-second piece. I know we're running out of time. And I think the point you make, the whole beating up each other in the West and the attrition by the time you get into the playoffs, I think is definitely at play here. I think one of the contributing factors for Golden State, anyway, was not just that level of attrition because they're in the tough West, but they've been to the finals, winning championships the last 4 or 5 years. So I think it was the cumulative wear and tear for them that helped contribute to the tired legs, not just a season fighting with some other giants in the Western Conference. And I would like for King James to emerge, but
Small K.
Clippers,
Small K.
King James,
Small K.
LeBron
King.
James.
Yeah.
But them Clippers, man, that was a master stroke getting Kawhi, and you got Paul George, you got Lou coming off the bench, and Pitbull
listen, man,
Beverly.
They still got to go through
hold
their
on,
rites
hold
of
on.
passage.
That's next week. Listen, we're going to talk about that next week, about the different moves in the NBA.
Yes, sir.
And so, hey, listen, be with us back the same bad time, same bad channel, right here from 7 to 7:30 on Joy 1340 AM 98.7 FM. Also, check us out on Facebook, Into His Courts. We're also putting that out on the social media,
World
so you
Wide
can
Web.
see us, not just hear us. So again, until next week, we'll see you. Peace.
Damn.